All right, I want to introduce again Brandon Ellis. And Brandon, I want to congratulate you. Not only do you do our science fiction segment in our local Long Island the music scene segment, but we've also asked you to do our social media. You're off to a raging start by putting SoundCloud, and we hope to add other great social media venues like Twitter and Instagram, Snapchat. So how excited are you to take us to another level by expanding our social media reach?
Howie, I'm just extremely thrilled. We got a lot of great stuff coming up. I really thought this show would benefit as a podcast as well as a show we broadcast on YouTube and Facebook, so that's going to help us put this show together completely if you want to check that out and listen to it. Instagram and Twitter for those really into that. It's a big thing in society, so I'm going to bring it to you. And stay tuned, guys, because we got a lot of good stuff coming for you.
And Brandon, I think as the days go ahead, just keep bringing bright young men like Scott Honickman, because I see that you have the passion, and I see that Scott has the passion. I know there's a lot of other bright people, and the more young, bright people we can bring onto the show that can share your passion, it's just going to get better and better.
Howie, I will try my very, very best, because I care about this show and I love it to death.
That is awesome. So let's talk some music. What do you think, Scott? Because that's your big passion, and Brandon.
Let's do it.
So let's talk some Long Island music.
All right, so this segment is called Hit List. It's a hit that should be on your music list. And today I'm joined by the lead guitarist of the band Sheep Surveillance. Scott, how you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, Brandon. Thank you.
Pleasure having you here. Now, my first question comes from that interesting title of band you got there. Do you watch sheep? Did your band do that?
All the time. We watch them in the herds gallop and go around, and we're like, you know what? That's the band name right there. No, but in all seriousness, the name, I think the vocalist, if my memory serves me correctly, our vocalist came up with the name, and he didn't really explain it too much in detail to us, but we all just, it was like magic almost, because we had been trying to come up with a band name for a couple months. We'd been playing, we hadn't played any gigs yet, but we were struggling coming up with a name. Then he said that, and we just, something about it, we just loved it.
So the title with the two S's, almost like alliteration, even though sh and s sound different. So Sheep Surveillance, it's got a nice ring, a little kick to it. Now, I'm curious. I think a lot of the viewers and listeners are curious as well. What is the band all about? What is the genre that you normally play?
So we mainly play punk, hardcore, rock music. It's a blend, usually, of all those three genres. Most of our songs sound very fast-paced. We have a few songs that are slower, but the majority of our songs are a bit faster than normal rock. And in terms of the songs, we have about 20-something, 20 plus, and they range from a variety of topics such as personal relationships, personal struggles, social issues, political issues, a lot of different variety in the music.
Now, with punk music, what I find really interesting about that is it really has that sort of energy, that raw emotion that a lot of genres may not necessarily really have, and you can bring across some political issues and more emotional conflicts that people may go through. Now, if you had to choose, what did your band really focus on the most? Do you go political with certain messages, or you get more into the feels, something that an audience member could relate to?
So I'd say more often than not, we all contribute to the lyrics. Our vocalist, Tony, contributes the most. He's written a good portion of our songs, and what he mainly writes about is his personal issues, his personal struggles, but at the same, it's almost like an equal balance. He'll write about that, and then he'll write about, his thoughts on a particular social issue or political issue, like I said. It's very varied. There is no one particular topic that we cling to, but you know, we try to write music that we feel is both positive, but trying to convey a message that can be viewed as positive or negative depending on how, you know, you view it.
Now, I don't know a terrible amount about the band, but I am getting similar vibes to something like Nirvana. Kurt Cobain, he wrote a good amount of the stuff. It was very personal, raw emotions, what he was going through, and also was very smart and very clever and talked about specific topics that really defined the genre for the 90s and music in general.
Yeah, a lot of the people who have heard our music or seen us play have compared us to Nirvana. We do sound a good amount like them, but I'd say we play a little bit faster. In a lot of our ways, our vocalist has been inspired by Nirvana. He loves Nirvana. Everybody in the band loves Nirvana. So you can hear that styling through every member in the band.
So, besides Nirvana, what else inspired you personally and the band as a whole?
Well, I listen to a lot of punk myself. I listen to a lot of different music, but when I was 13 years old, I knew that I wanted to start playing guitar. I knew I wanted to start a band. So one of the bands I had listened to the most at the time, and to this day I still listen to a lot, that's influenced me in a lot of different ways, is Green Day. I don't listen to them as much as I used to, but they were a huge influence on me personally, and when I play guitar, you can kind of hear the stylings of Billy Joe in the band, his guitar style. It's pretty similar. And I also listen to a lot of 80s punk that also really influenced me, like Minor Threat, a lot of DC local bands, a lot of Southern California local bands. I love the stylings of all those musicians. And everyone else in the band pretty much has the same influences. Our drummer is actually more jazz oriented, but he can pretty much play any genre of music fluently. He's just a very, very well-trained drummer. Our bass player listens to a lot of 60s and 70s rock, a lot of jazz also, and blues, but he also loves punk. So though everyone in the band has their own influences, they're all relatively the same.
So you got a variety of great influences. I personally approve, and I'm sure those influences really add to the sound of the band because they are very, very inspired. Now, for the most part, we cover local bands here in the local scene. So how is it like getting into that local scene, getting gigs from the start, and how have you progressed since then?
So the very first few times we played in front of a crowd, they weren't at any venues or any bars. We just played in front of some friends, and one of the friends of the friends, through people, actually was starting a small music management group that aimed to help local bands like us get gigs, and he reached out to us asking if he could represent us, and we said yes. And ever since then, roughly over a year ago, he's been booking us different gigs throughout the island. We played in Holbrook, we played in Amityville, we played in a number of different towns on Long Island, and it's been nothing but a great, great experience. We've met so many great people through the scene. We've met so many great bands, some great talent through everybody there. And we play pretty much, I'd say now, like at least 3 or 4 times a month, roughly. And it's just been a great overall experience playing with these bands. A lot of these guys, you know, just like us, have the same views on a lot of different issues and are influenced by a lot of the same bands that we're influenced by. So it's almost like talking to someone you've known for a long time, you know?
Scott, that's very impressive. You should pat yourself on the back daily because that is definitely an accomplishment.
There goes the pat.
So, what advice could you give to someone who was perhaps in your position years ago and may want to reach out a little more? What advice can you give to a struggling musician?
most cliche advice I could probably give is just don't give up. You know, if you love music, if you love playing music, then just keep at it. Even if you may feel like, you know, it might be impossible to make some sort of living, don't even have that in the back of your mind. Just focus on the fact that this is your passion and you love this. And if you love it as much as I love it, as much as a lot of these musicians I know love it, then you're gonna get nothing but joy and pride out of what you do. And whatever money you make will be secondary, because this is what you love to do. So just, if you're a struggling musician, just keep at it, and eventually someone's gonna recognize you and someone's gonna give you a helping hand.
On a final note, how can we get more information about sheep surveillance?
So we have a Facebook page and we have an Instagram. We also have a Bandcamp, though we only have a few songs in the Bandcamp. But we are also, probably before the year ends, we're going to release our very first album. Our friend has been recording us for the past few months, and actually just yesterday we finished up the last part of the record we needed to record, so he's just gonna work on you know, editing everything, and then hopefully by the end of the year we'll release our first album.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for being here. It was a wonderful experience hearing about your band.
Thank you so much for having me, Brandon. You too, Howie.
All right.
Not a problem.
Great job, Brandon. Great job, Scott. And good luck with the band, and great luck with the first album.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. That was awesome.